Dear students of 5th semester, in my previous class, I started the introduction of the famous novel Guide written by R.K. Narayan. So far as I recall, I discussed some points like Raju's recollection, characterization, fine craftsmanship, etc. Now, I am going to discuss the synopsis of the story. Raju, a former tourist guide, has just been released from prison. Not willing to go back to Malgudi, he takes shelter on the banks of the river Saraju. A gullible villager, Velan, mistakes him for a holy man and entreats him to solve his domestic problem. His half sister has run away from the house on the day fixed for her marriage. Raju utters a few platitudes and asks Velan to bring his sister to the shrine. Next morning, Velan brings his sister there. He also brings some food and other offerings for Raju. The girl listens to Raju's advice and apologizes to her brother and for the inconvenience and embarrassment she caused. She also agrees to get married to the person chosen by Velan. This establishes Raju's claim as a holy man in Velan's village. Now Raju placed himself in an awkward position and feeling very awkward, Raju now starts thinking of his past. His father ran a small shop in Malgudi where Raju also helped him. Then Malgudi had a railway station. A track was laid close to the place where Raju lived with his parents, and Raju's father was allotted a stall at the railway platform. The shop flourished. After Raju's father died, Raju had to look after both the shops. When Raju came into contact with the passengers at Malgudi railway station, he talked to them about the places of tourist and pilgrim interest in and around Malgudi to them. Soon he came to be known as Railway Raju. Passengers alighting from the train at Malgudi railway station gradually started asking for Railway Raju because of his helpful nature. He'd go out of his way to help them. Soon, Raju started devoting more time to guiding the tourists in and around Malgudi and he started neglecting his work. The shop at the railway station was now under the charge of railway porter Karya's son. Now, Raju one day found that an archaeological and art historian named Marco Polo arrives at the Malgudi railway station along with his beautiful wife Rosie. Raju calls him Marco because he resembles his legendary explorer Marco Polo. Marco is very interested in studying places of archaeological interest in the area. Raju puts up the couple at Anand Bhavan and engages his friend Gafur to ferry Marco and his wife from one place to another. Marco is always absorbed in his work and is very indifferent to his wife, who belongs to a family of Devdasis and who is interested in dancing. A frustrated Rosie is drawn towards young Raju, who admires her interest in the dance and takes her to see the dance of the King Cobra on the outskirts of Malgudi. As Marco is parked in the Mempipik house taking notes for his manuscript and temple there, Rosie and Raju get to spend a lot of time together. And Raju manages to seduce Rosie somehow. When Rosie reveals this to Marco, he leaves her. Marco goes back to Madras and Rosie starts living with Raju in his house. This gives rise to scandal in the neighborhood and Raju's uncle arrives on the scene. But Raju is not amenable to resume. He neglects all his work and supervises Rosie's dancing practice throughout the day. Raju's mother leaves the house with her brother. Now Rosie and Raju are left to themselves. Raju has great expectations from Rosie as a dancer. Raju's desire is to promote Rosie's career as a dancer. He contacts the local school and manages to get Rosie's dance item included in the variety show being organized to mark the school's annual day celebration. This is the beginning of Rose's career as a performing artist, which soon takes off. Raju vows to make her the greatest dancer of the country. Rosie has a meteoric career as a classical dancer. Her engagements takes her and Raju to all corners of the state. Meanwhile, Raju loses his stall at the railway station because of neglect and loses. And he is evicted from his ancestral house because he has run into debt and the money lender moves the court to recover his dues. Since he is prosperous now, Raju moves into a new establishment at new extension and befriends the cream of the society. He also takes to gambling and drinking, and he engages a young man Muni to look after Rose's engagements and day-to-day office work. Rosie continues to rise in her career. She is a much sought after classical dancer and her performances are booked months in advance. Raju travels with her outside Malgudi to help her and to fulfill her engagements and supervise the arrangements made. Rosie is totally absorbed in her passion for dancing. She is grateful to Raju for helping and promoting her, but her adore for Raju gradually cools off because she works around the clock and also because of Raju's gambling and drinking habit. One day, Raju receives Marco's book on temple carvings by post. He has dutifully acknowledged his debt to Raju, who guided him in his research. Convinced that the book is meant only for him, Raju hides it in his liquor cabinet. Soon Rosie comes to know of it, and there is an argument as a result of which the two drift further apart. Soon there is a communication from a legal firm. They want Rose's signature on a document to facilitate the return of some jewelry that Marco wants to pass on to Rosie since they have separated now. Since Raju doesn't want Rosie to know about it, as he thinks Marco is trying to make up with Rosie now and she had made a name as a dancer, Raju forces her signature on the document and sends it back. Days passed. One evening, as Rosie is in the middle of the dance performance at Kalipet, some 60 miles from Malgudi, the superintendent of police arrests him on the charge of forgery as Marco has filed a case against him. Rosie engages a top lawyer from Madras to defend Raju since they have no savings. She takes up more dancing assignments to pay the lawyer. But she tells him that she will have nothing to do henceforth with him. Despite her efforts, however, Raju is sentenced into 2 years of imprisonment for forgery. Rosie even considers the possibility for giving up her dancing career and start living with her husband again only if he accepts her back. In the prison, Raju proves to be a model prisoner. Because of his good behavior, his sentence is remitted and he is released before his prison time is over. However, he keeps getting news of Rose's dancing career and her engagements throughout the country. His mother is still living in the village with her brother. When he is released from prison, Raju cannot think of going back to Malgudi as an ex-convict, as I already told you in the previous class. Nor can he think of living with his mother. He reaches a dilapidated temple outside Malgudi, where he is mistaken for a holy man by Velan and his fellow villagers. He lives a life of a Swami for several years. He grows a beard and starts taking interest in the welfare activities of the people of Mangala, the nearby village from where Velan and his other villagers come. He starts a school for children and preaches to the men and women of the village in the evenings. This goes on till one year the monsoon fails to arrive on time. Rains are delayed and situation goes from bad to worse. A terrible drought brings untold misery to the people and soon there are starvation deaths. Near famine and conditions prevail in the region. There are so much danger in the place. Now the news pursues Raju. He feels that no one will bother about him as people have now started fighting among themselves. He sends a message to Velan through Velan's half-wit brother that he won't have any food till the two factions reach a compromise and come together. This message is distorted by Velan's brother, who tells the villagers that the Swami will not have any food till the rains come. The news of the Swami's first spreads far and wide. People are grateful that there is a holy man among them who is prepared to fast unto death for the sake. They have too much faith in Raju that they are certain that there will be rains at the end of the 12th day fast. Raju, however, knows nothing about this till a grateful villain and the other villagers come to Raju to thank him for this sacrifice. Actually, Raju is hungry and is waiting, Velan and others to bring him some food. But now there is no way out, for Raju must continue to play the part of the holy man he has been playing for several years. Raju realizes that he would have to undergo the fast for 12 days. He has to stand in knee-deep water every day and pray for rains. He also realizes that this ordeal may end in his death. He feels like confessing the truth to Villain, his confident and constant companion. He tells Villain that he is a former convict and he has committed adultery. But Villain's opinion of Raju doesn't change even after he has heard the confession. He remains steadfast in his devotion to Raju and still addresses him as Swami. The first attracts a lot of attention. Raju feels some holiness and descending on him, even though he is a fake Swami. His distorting health becomes a concern for the government, and the temple where he is fascinating and where he is fasting is now a place of a pilgrimage for thousands of people who all want to see and touch the Swami. Reporters gathered there from all parts of the globe, and there is even an American who is filming the Swami's fast for people back home. Raju grows extremely weak on the 11th day of his fast, and the doctor advises him to take some glucose and saline water in view of the grave danger to his life. Raju declines. He goes to the water as usual, although he is too weak to walk without any support. He whispers to Villain that he can feel it is raining in the hills and he falls down. The ending is ambiguous, as we do not know whether Raju has fallen unconscious or he is dead. Probably he is dead, but the rumbling of clouds is heard in the distant horizon. So, student, let it this up to this much. If there is any question regarding the synopsis, please do ask me in my next class.